The Chicago Bulls hang on for another day, ladies and gentlemen, with just 2 games remaining in the regular season, where they'll play over the weekend against the Nets and the Bucks. It was good to see the Bulls get a bounce-back win after a close loss against the Nets on Tuesday. However, this was a game that would have been a complete disappointment had the Bulls lost, given how shorthanded the Raptors were, and essentially where they're just resting their players for the remainder of the season since they've been eliminated from playoff contention. However, this wasn't all that great of a game for the Bulls. I mean, you're playing a Raptors team that is essentially their G League affiliate at this point, and they kind of let them hang around and close the gap of the lead in the end of the fourth quarter there, but the Bulls hung on and survived yet another day and not getting eliminated just yet from playing contention. So what's going on, everyone? You are listening to Bull Central here. Hope you're all doing well. Guys, I just want to give a quick shout out to all of you who watched the video podcast of my friend's podcast that he started up recently. Thanks for giving him some love and support, and in case you missed it, I'll leave a link to it in the description. You'll also be able to see me on video in case you're wondering what I look like. It's a great podcast, so go check it out. But anyway, back to this game. Look, the Bulls won. They hang on to their play in hopes for another day. But let's be real, the Wizards aren't going to lose to the Cavs tomorrow, okay? They're just not. And for the Bulls to also win their games against the Nets and the Bucks, it doesn't look like either team is going to be showing signs of slowing down and resting their star players leading up to the playoffs, which is going to make it even more challenging. I initially thought that was probably going to be the case, but they're still playing their players. But either way, the Bulls did what they needed to do and win a game that was a must-win situation. It wasn't as pretty as you would hope to see. Again, given how depleted the Raptors were, they really did put up a fight. I mean, anytime you make Stanley Johnson look like an all-star, that's pretty bad. And boy, oh boy, the turnovers were back. After 4 straight games of single-digit turnovers, the Bulls turned the ball over 17 times, more than their season average, which is still one of the worst in the league. And again, against a bad team, Bulls just have this way with them that they play down to their competition for some reason. And they take care of the ball incredibly well against teams like the Celtics and the Nets, but then they give up 17 turnovers against a bunch of G Leaguers. And the turnovers is really what kept the Raptors in this game. I mean, I've said it before, but you can do everything else well on the floor. You can shoot at an efficient rate, you can play top-notch defense, rebound well, but if you're committing turnovers left and right, you are not going to win very many games. Because if you look at the Bulls and how they did tonight, on paper, it looks pretty solid, aside from the turnovers, of course. They shot the ball well, especially from deep, shooting 47%, 54% from the field overall. They crashed the board, snagging 15 rebounds as a team in total. Passed the ball well, the player and ball movement was great, but there was also a lot of sloppy and lazy basketball on their part on offense, and you just can't have that if you want to be an elite team in this league, which I know the Bulls aren't, of course, but the hope is that they'll eventually get there based on the moves that we're hoping will be made in the offseason. Now, there were a few things that I really like seeing from this game. One being Coby White. Not only did he score 17 points on efficient shooting, but also 10 assists and 5 rebounds. The playmaking is starting to become more and more natural for him. He's slowing things down, letting the game come to him, finding the right opportunities in the pocket, better vision and finding cutting players to the basket. I've been really impressed with his play recently. Not saying he's the Bulls point guard for the future just yet, but still he's playing significantly better from what we saw earlier this season. And then the other thing I like seeing, how about Lauri Markkanen finally having himself a solid game? Obviously, he knows these final games are critical for his financial future and what kind of contract that he's able to secure, whether it's from the Bulls or another team. But 20 points tonight, knocking down 6 threes, shooting 7 for 10 from the floor. Not only that, but he was decent on the boards as well, snagging 7 rebounds and even 1 steal and a block, showing a bit of a defensive effort, which we don't really typically see from Lauri Markkanen. Probably the best game we have seen from him ever since being benched. It was good to see him step up in a big way, and he actually led the team in box plus minus tonight in his 25 minutes at plus 15. It'll be interesting to see what happens with Lauri. I think we all know that this is probably going to be, his last games in a Bulls uniform. At least that's what I think anyway. But if he can make a strong case for why he should still be here in these final games, then who knows? Maybe the front office will be looking to match an offer he might receive from another team when he becomes a restricted free agent. Zach LaVine, of course, just another LaVine night, 24 points on 8 for 15 shooting, 5 rebounds, and 3 assists. Interesting stat from LaVine tonight, his 3 3-pointers set a new Chicago Bulls franchise record, hitting 200 3-pointers in a single season, which is absolutely incredible because Lavine also missed some time this season, right? He was out due to COVID. He also missed 1 game from an ankle sprain. And it was a shortened season, so I imagine if it was a full 82 games, and of course Lavine didn't get COVID, he would have blown that record out of the water, and my guess is he'll likely surpass that record next season. Vucevic, another solid game for him. Well, I guess I shouldn't say another, since the game that he had against the Nets on Tuesday was more of a subpar performance for him anyway, but just, doing what Vucevic does best, scoring efficiently, maybe not so efficient from 3 tonight, but crashing the glass, 16 points, 16 rebounds, and he also had 6 assists. It's another thing I love seeing from Vucevic is his ability to pass as a big man is just another added layer of playmaking that the Bulls need on this roster. And then also Javonte Green had himself a really good game, right? I really like this kid. Ever since he came into that game recently where the Bulls were down big and he brought the guys back within striking distance to where you thought the Bulls might be able to take over the game and win. He sort of earned his spot in the rotation to getting some more minutes, which makes me happy because I would much prefer to see Green out there than Denzel Valentine. But Javonte, in his 13 minutes of play, was very impactful, scoring 10 points on 4 for 6 shooting and knocking down a couple threes. Another piece, that will be interesting to see what the Bulls do with this guy in the offseason, because his minimum contract will be expiring, and I think it might be beneficial for the Bulls to offer him a cheap extension as a solid player off the bench who can give you effort and impact for 10 to 15 minutes a game. Speaking of which, I know a lot of you guys have been asking about what my plans are for this offseason. Since this is my first offseason with the channel, I do still plan on making content, although it may not necessarily be on a daily basis, but I plan on focusing on unique topics. Of course, I'll talk about free agency, trades, or anything else that really happens in the offseason, but also other topics that I have wanted to discuss for a while now that maybe aren't necessarily related to the current state of the Bulls. So just know that, I'll be putting out videos as long as there is still an audience to watch them. Anyway, that's all I've got for tonight, though. We'll have to keep an eye on the game, the Wizards game tomorrow against the Cavs, to see if the Bulls' chances stay alive for one more day. I'll be back out with another video tomorrow, so be on the lookout for that. As always, guys, be sure to subscribe to the channel if you like daily Bulls content. Thanks again for tuning in, as always, and I will catch you in the next one.